Trust in government is something Americans across the political spectrum say they want more of. But this hearing featuring Representative Sydney Kamlager-Dove and Attorney General Pam Bondi asks a bigger question. What happens when trust in law enforcement collides with politics? That tension drives this exchange.
The good gentleman yields back. We turn to the good lady from California, Congresswoman Kamlager-Dove.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Attorney General, for being here today. I want to talk with you about an issue on which there is broad bipartisan agreement: the importance of ensuring trust between the American public and those government officials who wield powerful law enforcement responsibilities. So, Attorney General, would you agree that it is important for law enforcement leaders to be honest?
Of course, as well as members of Congress.
Thank you. And would you include yourself as a law enforcement leader?
Of course.
Okay, thank you, thank you. You know, President Trump has also, he has referred to himself as the chief law enforcement officer of this country. So do you believe that President Trump is honest?
He is the commander-in-chief of the United States of America, and not only is he keeping this country safe, he is keeping this world safe.
It's a simple question, which you didn't answer.
He is the commander-in-chief.
Last June, Minnesota lawmaker Melissa Hortman, her husband Mark, and their dog were brutally murdered in their home. And your USA's office in Minnesota investigated this crime and obtained a 6-count indictment of the murder suspect, stating that he had intent to kill, injury, harass, and intimidate Minnesota legislators. And I have the copy right here. I read through it. Yet a few weeks ago, President Trump suggested publicly that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz was behind these murders, posting on his Truth Social account a video raising this conspiracy theory. And it wasn't true. And you know it wasn't true, or else you would not have brought an indictment against the subject. Do you know what else Trump has said? He has said he has cut gas prices by 1,400%. False. That he won the 2020 election.
Actually, gas is down to $1.99 a gallon, thanks to
President Trump. That he didn't know Epstein.
Maybe $5 in California.
It's my time, Mr. Chair. That he sent water to LA during the wildfires. False. That Governor Westmore of Maryland called him the greatest president of his lifetime. False. So many tales, too many to keep up. But I want to go back to what he said about Tim Walz. Do you agree that President Trump undermined public trust in law enforcement by suggesting that Governor Walz was involved in the Hortman murders?
I am not familiar with that statement.
Well, that is a disappointing response, and it is also why your office and Donald Trump have zero credibility, because I know, and you know, it was a right-wing extremist who murdered the Hortmans. And you and the president are being dishonest with the American people. Last fall, after the horrific shooting of Charlie Kirk, President Trump was asked if there were extremists on both the left and the right. And his exact words were, "I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. The radicals on the left are the problem, and they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy." Do you agree with this statement? You're taking too long, Madam Attorney General, but you know the answer because your own department has addressed the question. In 24, the DOJ's research arm issued a report on domestic terrorism stating that the number of far-right attacks continues to outpace all other types of terrorism and domestic violence extremists. The DOJ published the report, and after the president made those comments, the DOJ took the report down. And I sent you a letter asking you a simple question. Why did the Justice Department remove the data that shows right-wing extremists have killed more innocent people than left-wing extremists?
Did you refer to immigration enforcement as domestic terrorism?
You should answer my question. Yes. You're on my time, but you won't. And what I am asking you to do is put the report back, restore the data. Stop scrubbing important data from your website. Stop taking down reports that you know the American people need to know about. There are violent, dangerous people out here with real threats, and the dishonesty from your agency comes from the covering up of these threats that could hurt American people and put our lives at rest. Do better.
Kamlager-Dove begins with what sounds like a simple principle. People who hold powerful law enforcement roles should be honest. If prosecutors, attorneys general, and presidents ask Americans to trust institutions, then public confidence depends on facts, accountability, and credibility. So she starts with a direct question. Does honesty matter for law enforcement leaders? Bondi agrees. But then comes the sharper follow-up. If honesty matters, does she believe President Trump is honest? From there, the hearing shifts into a larger democratic argument about truth, accountability, and public trust. Kamlager-Dove points to examples she says show why misinformation from powerful officials can damage confidence in institutions, including comments surrounding the murder of Minnesota lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, where prosecutors pursued charges tied to political intimidation and violence. Her broader concern is this: when political leaders promote unsupported claims during moments of tragedy or fear, it can confuse the public and weaken trust in investigations. The conversation then expands into domestic extremism. Kamlager-Dove points to Justice Department research identifying far-right extremist violence as a serious public safety concern and questions why data related to domestic terrorism was reportedly removed from public access. This part of the hearing highlights something larger viewers may not always think about. Extremism is not only a political issue, it is a public safety issue. Researchers, law enforcement, and policymakers rely on data to understand threats, track patterns, and help prevent violence before it happens. From a democratic perspective, the message here is clear: honesty, transparency, and accountability are not political talking points. They are essential to public trust in democracy and law enforcement. At its core, this hearing asks a difficult question: can Americans trust institutions of justice if facts themselves become political? What do you think? Was this meaningful oversight or political theater? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more breakdowns that explain what congressional hearings really mean beyond the headlines.